My name is Ryan Williams, and I've just had my Viva, and I successfully defended my thesis with minor amendments. In this video, I'm going to describe my experience of the Viva voice. It's now April, and I submitted my finished thesis of around 88,000 words just before Christmas. My original Viva was scheduled for February, but was cancelled less than 24 hours before because my internal examiner was ill. So this meant that it all had to be rearranged for another date in April. And although I was fully prepared for February and ready to do the Viva in February, I tried to be positive and say, well, now I've got more time to practice and read over my work again. But to be honest, it was hard to build up that motivation for another prolonged period of revising and preparation. I'm going to break this down into firstly how I prepared for the Viva and then what happened on the day. For my practice, my director of studies, who was absolutely brilliant, sent me some example questions over. I did further research and added some more potential questions to my list. In total, I had around 9 pages and 3,000 to 4,000 words of answers as part of this. Questions that 100% come up are things like your contribution to knowledge, lots of questions around your methodology as well. I then had 2 practice Vivas, one with my director of studies and a second one with the inclusion of my second supervisor, and these were so valuable. I think reading and writing your answers is one thing, but saying them out loud is significantly different. If you're offered the opportunity for a practice Viva, definitely take it. I then just practiced at home, walking around the house, saying my answers out loud, and again just reading through my thesis. So on the day, the Viva was at 2 p.m, so I woke up nice and early that day, and I had a good walk in the morning and a nice breakfast and a lunch without feeling too rushed. So I think 2 p.m. was a good time. I also checked that Zoom was working in the morning, and funnily enough, when I tested it, it didn't work. So I had to uninstall it and then re-download it again so that it worked. So a slight scare in the morning, but again, because I had lots of time, I didn't feel panicked or anything. I joined the call around 15 minutes before and was in the waiting room until I was admitted at 2 p.m. The panel consisted of a chair from Teesside University and 2 examiners, and my director of studies was part of the call as well. Because we had to rearrange quickly due to my internal examiner being ill, I had 2 external examiners, one from Huddersfield and one from Birmingham. And having 2 external examiners is quite unusual. So traditionally you would have one examiner from your university and one from another. My examiners were both highly skilled scholars with a really strong academic reputation. My director of studies said that this would actually look better for my academic profile, having these 2 top scholars as my examiners. But the downside of this, we weren't too sure how tough they were going to be. The Viva started with some light introductions led by the chair and then went pretty much straight into questions. The examiners did say that they enjoyed reading my thesis, and it's not an interrogation, it's just a critical discussion. And I think this did put me at ease a little bit. They went chapter by chapter and had around 3 to 4 questions on each chapter. The questions that I prepared for were fine, and I answered them really well, but the ones that I weren't prepared for were particularly tough to answer. So having the ability to kind of think on the spot is quite tricky. But again, you get your thesis, print it off and have it to the side, and it just gives you an opportunity to quickly look through as well. Some of the questions were really specific. For example, on one of them was on page 145, you use this reference, but the author has now published some work, some newer work. So how does this fit in with your argument? Or you mentioned something on page 188, but you don't refer to it again. Was it a throwaway comment? But because I had the thesis in front of me, I could quickly look through and say, oh, what did I put on page 188? So they were very specific on the references and every argument I made. I didn't think they would be that specific, but again, it just evidences that they've read my work and that it is a critical discussion of my work. It lasted around 1 hour and 45 minutes. They then had a 15-minute break, and they then invited me in after and congratulated me and said that they were recommending me for my PhD. The amendments that they wanted were to have a final reflection on where social media in education sits in a post-COVID world, so post-lockdown. And they also wanted some more information about the power dynamics of me being an interviewer, interviewing teachers on pedagogy, but not being a secondary school teacher myself. I've got a few months to do this, but I don't think it'll take me too long. I've already started with some of the amendments, and I think it's just scheduling some time in now after work or on weekends or evenings to do that. I did celebrate afterwards, and now I've reflected, it was a really positive experience and the examiners were brilliant. I think when you're in the call, when you're doing the Viva voice, you can think, oh, this is really tough, but I've had a few days and a few weeks to reflect, and everything they said were valid, and I think making these amendments to my thesis will just enhance my work. So in no way did I feel that they were being harsh or unfair. They just wanted more clarity on a few things. Now that my Viva voice is signed off, I can now look at some of the suggestions that I made for future research, such as exploring technology in both assistive and access technology as well. Thank you for watching.